All right, Carnivore January coming to a close. Wanted to do a quick little recap on how everything went, what I learned, and what I'm taking away from this challenge and this month. I guess I will say that I am actually extending this a couple of days. With all the snow in Philly, all the Quest labs are closed, so I've not gotten my blood work done. So until I can get that done, I'll be riding this out. But certainly lots to update in the meantime. Biggest thing that I've learned, or that's really transpired over this challenge, was the importance of passing the 2-week period. Once I passed 2 weeks, this became a lot easier for me. My body really regulated what was going on. My energy became a lot more consistent. It was really up and down in the beginning. I had a really hard time getting out of bed in the beginning without any coffee. My sleep was a bit more sporadic. And once I passed that 2-week period, really all those levels improved. So that was super encouraging, and that's something that I'll sort of take note of if I really ever try to attack this again. As for like what I've specifically been up to and my routine over this past 2-week period. So I have significantly upped my water intake. I am now drinking 2 to 2.5 gallons a day, with that first gallon coming before 10 a.m. I've got this lovely little 48 ouncer right here, and I've been taking down one as soon as I wake up, second one down within the hour, and third one down to get me to about 150 ounces before 10 a.m. And I just felt really great doing this, and that has certainly been a contributor to my really great recovery scores. Outside of that, I've been eating about 2.5 pounds of meat per day. My meat was mostly beef, chicken, and hard-boiled eggs. I did have a little bit of pork and a little bit of seafood mixed in, but these were really the three primary. One thing that changed in the past 2-week period versus the first 2 weeks was I got really liberal with my butter use. In the first 2 weeks, I realized that a lot of times when I was cooking, the fat would actually cook off, and I wasn't really consuming that. So I got really liberal with my butter use, and I saw really only positive results from that. I will say that I was also fasting. I have been fasting for about 14 to 16 hours, which is a little bit less than I usually do. I was eating closer to 11 a.m. and wrapping up consumption maybe at like 5 or 6 or 7, I guess, however that math works out. But that's the general framework of my days lately, and this is something that I'll be sort of transitioning into my vegan diet as well. One thing that became super obvious on this challenge was the importance of food quality. So I ate local meat whenever possible. I ate always organic and grass-fed. And it's just obvious how much better that is for my body than a lot of the mass-produced or like family pack commercial stuff. There were a few nights that I ate with family, and I brought, the steak that I had gotten for myself, and other people would have kind of the family pack from Wegmans. And it's just obvious how different that food is. You can just see it visually. I could feel it physically. So that's something that I'll really be taking away from this, and the theme of high quality food is something that I'll be transitioning into the vegan diet with. Some other big takeaways from this month, really the ability to exercise my discipline. This month really gave me a great opportunity to focus on food as fuel, and really give me a chance to retrain my mind, especially when it comes to cravings. So since I didn't really have any leeway with this diet, I really didn't allow myself to even acknowledge any cravings. There was no way for me to be like, how can I sneak something in that's still okay, but sort of a treat? None of that, really. And that ultimately has just kind of like rewired my brain to think about food differently. I think I've always had a bit of an up and down relationship with food. I've been able to stick true to diets really well in the past, but I've also been really lacking, I guess, when it comes to discipline related to sweets. I've been known to have an entire tub of Turkey Hill cookie dough. I've done that on multiple occasions. 2 pints of Ben & Jerry's in one sitting, no problem. So that kind of mental approach to food has kind of been tweaked for me with this challenge, and I'm really interested to see how I do moving out of it once I do have some more options. But just the ability to kind of focus exclusively on food as fuel was something that I think is a really positive takeaway for me. I guess one thing that I will mention in relation to the food that I was eating, with it being, obviously protein and fat, I really felt that whenever I ate, that food was being used up by my body. I'll get to that again in a second, but that was something that I noticed. I didn't really have a lot of food that was just sitting, waiting to be used in my body. All of it really went to use, and I felt super lean on this diet the entire time, kind of as a result of that. One other thing worth mentioning is that my workouts were super strong, especially over this last 2-week period. I went on a bunch of bike rides. I think I went on 10 rides, and I was really interested to see how I would perform on these rides, because typically I'm using carbs as fuel. I'm having a banana, maybe a banana and honey before I go on a bike ride. So to transition into like hard-boiled eggs before a ride was something that I was really interested to see how I did, and all the results were really strong. I went on rides that were usually 10 miles to 30, which is maybe 45 minutes up to 2 hours or so, and all results really seemed positive. I didn't go on any rides where I would be eating mid-ride. I didn't really feel like packing some hard-boiled eggs in my little fanny. I thought that'd be kind of gross or weird. So this was a great introduction into, I guess, endurance training on this type of diet, and super positive results to start. One thing also worth mentioning is the bathroom situation. So I did not have a normal poop for the entire month of January. I'm still continuing this diet, so I guess I have not had a normal poop since 2020. But it was never bad. It was really just a really strange experience. Kind of what I said in relation to my body using food as fuel. I felt like anything that I ate, I was using. So I didn't really have these like big dumps where it's all this food that I've been eating and I'm pooping it out. It was more like I'm eating a ton of food, my body is using this food, and when I do have to take a number 2, it's a lot smaller than I would have guessed it to be. Super weird, not consistent at all. I really had zero time regulation with that. But something obviously worth noting, what your body produces out is a great way to test and understand how it's functioning on what's going into it. So that was a really important takeaway for me, and something that I guess certainly remains surprising. As a whole, I'm super pleased with how this month went. I obviously had really strong recovery scores. Physically, I stayed super lean all month. And I'm basically going to be taking all this info and stashing this in my back pocket as I then transition to the next half of this challenge. So I mentioned over here food quality, and that is going to be one of my goals when I go vegan. I had initially said that I was going to be using meat replacements and trying to understand how my body uses the vegetable and seed oils in those replacements and how that kind of affects me. But I've really changed my approach, and what I'm going to be doing now is avoiding those meat replacements completely, and I'm going to just be using and eating exclusively high quality local produce. I'll be getting natural protein sources, so I'll be having a lot of lentils, a lot of beans. I've got a bit more research to do on vegan, so if you have any tips or tricks on how to eat a natural, sustainable vegan diet while still getting high quality protein, I'd love to hear about it. But that's really what I'm taking away from this month. I'm heading into a 5-day transition period once I get this blood work done, and then we'll be going fully vegan. As a whole, this was a really strong success. I'm super pumped with how it went. Like I said, I'm really just going to be taking all this information, storing it away, and then once I have this vegan month, the goal is to basically piece together what works well from both to combine into a solid and sustainable diet for me, that I can have for my training goals as well as just the lifestyle goals that I have. So I appreciate everybody's support. I appreciate your interest. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions or suggestions or support, I'm always looking to hear that. So please hit me up. But otherwise, we'll keep moving on and we'll keep trucking and keep doing it. Thanks so much. Take it easy.